All right. Hey, how's it going? So, just a quick video edit. I just didn't save this in the beginning, but what's important that this video is a timestamp as of what today's day is, July 12th of the development documentation as this video. This might be uploaded at a later time because I had like a bunch of YouTube shorts that are already pre-scheduled, and I don't want to ruin it by simply editing all the other schedules on YouTube just to push this video. So video will be scheduled to upload later. Well, by this time, this video will be outdated and I may upload something else probably the day after, or maybe something new with a different video log video that's changed. So, right now I'm currently showing what I did since July 12th. So, things probably changed a little bit in my development, but we'll see when if I do make another video log, which I will, and I should do this every once in a while, but it is worth it to share your progress so I can reach out to other people to talk about my game I'm working on. So, yeah, so hopefully, but I still have to figure out other ways how I can also provide this as a short, because shorts is obviously killed long-term content like this, but I had to make a long-term content like this because specifically since I didn't post any shorts from 2 months specifically about this project, I have a lot to uncover, so I had to make a long-term wide video for this. So I may make a slight short version of this on top of it, but that may be too much work for me on my end since I'm kind of like busy working on my game project, of course, and also a second project that I temporarily put it on pause, which is my comic series. I have an idea, but once I get to a certain milestone in my game, I'll probably revisit back to my comic project and then do that. I have all my writing and stuff all down. I'm just still working on the concept part, but again, I had to pause it because my game is currently important at the moment, so I'm not gonna fuss around if I do make a separate variation of this video with a short in there. But I think just keep it long term. If you see a long term video, that's great. I'm glad and thank you for your patience to watch the whole dang video. I know people's attention spans are dimming these days, but I just don't have the time to make this into a bunch of short videos and just reposted it. The only time I can efficiently make in short videos if I was doing it in the middle of a stream and just clipping, because I had more control to easily just to push that out. But for the long video, I'm a little bit too lazy because it does take more time. I wouldn't say lazy, but maybe I'm just time managing. Okay. All right, back to the video. Back to the video I'm gonna share. Alrighty, hello everyone. I know it's been a while that I did any documentation video recording of my game to upload on YouTube to talk about my progress. I stopped with the shorts for a little while because I was kind of like a little deep in learning to other things what I could do in Godot. So now, since the time has come to share some things because I want to still keep that in mind. So I still kind of have like some motivation to get maybe some reaction to feel how far I'm going for this, but yeah, I'm recording this in the middle of a thunderstorm, so right now it may be a little bit noisy, but I probably maybe don't hear it since I'm having like a very close dynamic microphone, but we'll see. But that's not gonna bother me to show my progress today or what I did so far. So I've been lately mostly focusing on UI stuff, but I'm not going for anything super detailed deep. I'm just drafting like a prototype how my graphic settings and stuff like that could possibly be. Now I'm still working on the game mechanics itself, but I felt like it was a good opportunity to learn how to utilize all of this information here. So that's what I did end up coming on. And the funny thing about this, when I was developing out this, it was good that I was start thinking about the early development of this UI, because there was actually no a full-on actual functioning feature that for controllers. Now, there's some things that you can work for controllers to get certain things to interact and hit the button. However, if you try to use the native support in Godot, it just really is not work all the time. And if you want like some kind of like tab pop down layout down to do stuff on when you're changing like preset screens or displays or resolution, it only supports for mouse and PC and keyboard, but not for controller, so I had to figure out an alternative way. And one of the alternative ways that I did was that I ended up figuring out how to use the tab controls instead, and then managed to trick Godot to think that all the inputs that in the UI settings is all coming from the keyboard, regardless if you have a mouse or a controller. Because the tab feature is very robust that it can respond to things. So I might as well, instead of telling the thing to figure out which controller you're using just to switch to use the UI, why not just create a modular script like right over here, like this UI interactive over here, and then yeah, I added some like early stuff you can add. I added also like a debug stuff and color and that. Add this like stuff over here and tab container and stuff like that, and then so just to get it to read it, to believe that you're typing everything on the keyboard, but this is just like a temporary solution for now, but I may develop something in the future that if I'm going to add more visual language to it, like these placeholders over here, like if it's going to actually detect the controller one day, maybe instead of showing the guide buttons for like keyboard to or commands to move back or left or right and stuff like that, maybe like some controller PC icons for controllers, like maybe for something for Steam Deck or Xbox controllers, and then it'll just show like that. But I'm not hugely worried about that right now at the moment. I'm just focused on getting something functional, so it's not really a big deal. But other than that, getting something functional and layout is my priority, but the color theory for the UX design, that can go way later once I start polishing things, so I'm not hugely worried about that. The next thing I was going to do was, yeah, I have my pause menu set up like this. I had a lot of iterations that went into this, but yeah, it was like pretty much a lot. If I can show you for a second, let me pull out my sketchbook. Alrighty, so I have like some pages to show, so I usually do, whenever I'm doing UI or anything, I don't like directly code, just experiment first. I mean, I'll experiment that later once I get all my doodles done, so I don't have to worry about too much thinking about layout in the system. But these are just sketches, some ideas that I was originally going to go for. But then when I started coding something like that, then I hit some certain realities involved with Godot, and then I had to revise certain things. But yeah, but I did have some ideas how I want my subcategories wanted to be written out. Like I kind of had like at some point maybe had like some controls return style, low points, and graphics. But right now I was kind of like maybe there was a few things I had to change with the subcategories, but that's just normal when you're developing stuff and testing. Maybe that worked, maybe that didn't work. Okay, what I can realistically do? And then I also had to do some screen researching, so I need to figure out my target a little bit more earlier about my resolution that kind of matches with my target audience. So I ended up winning for like the minimum to be 1280 by 800 pixels, because for starters that I don't believe no one really touches the 600 by 800 pixels anymore these days, because everyone got like enough beefy computer to run basically PlayStation 3 games at this point. And it was kind of pointless to have screen resolutions to keep 4x3 into that, so I technically dismantled or removed the well, technically, you can still do 720p with 1280 800 if you set it to a certain settings with keep height. Then you do still get your 720p experience. That should be like the minimum, because if you're like, for example, on a very low end computer, then definitely 720p should be the lowest. But anything lower than that just doesn't make any sense anymore. But yeah, so no lower resolutions than that. But then I did have some ideas of how I kind of want to maybe shift things around. But then I kind of had a choice to, like, if I do this, do that. So it's a lot of thinking when doing UX design. So just keep that in mind. Always just draw thumbnail sketches to lay out your stuff. Because if you just throw, okay, this is the button, goes here, technically it does work, but you're not knocking out the early stuff that people could possibly understand or not. Now, the real truth is that if they actually like it, once you do an actual playtest, when you reach to a certain alpha stage to see if the UI is actually working. But it's having a good idea to knock some stuff down early in advance to have some fundamentals in. Alright, yeah. So, yeah, I did change some things to that. I was originally not going to program a resume button since I already have Inkscape built in. Then I really thought about that and kind of changed my mind as a placeholder, but there's nothing programming a resume button yet because those was just some ideas I was thinking of. And the reason why I kind of have like this space and this space over there to have that blank space, because possibly I might include something where it matches universally with the other modular UI layouts I kind of had in mind, where maybe some things I could have information there in the middle. But this is still a development progress, and I could change at any given time if I want to put this in the center. But definitely after for a while, since I was messing around learning how to use the Godot's UI settings and stuff, I started to like more of the tabs wave of things of doing, since I implemented more further on that and understand how to put tabs and stuff like that. So this is definitely the inventory UI is going to get revamped again, and it's going to look something similar to the UI settings with a tab, because I already have a functioning modular feature with the UI interact, so it would be just easily just to use that as a baseline and then build it from there. So yeah, the party and stats and maps and items are going to be tabs. So let's see what else I can share for today. Alrighty, so this is like my special moves UI wheel that I had like in mind. Now I had like several iterations of in Sketch before I start putting in things, but this was like my earliest experimentation trying to use to add and learn how to put stuff in the UIs and controls and lay them out. But yeah, I had this one had its own UI cursor wheel kind of script going on. So it's not using the UI settings modular that I developed from the settings, because that came after this. Because I wanted to develop like a certain move set where you can kind of look like a scroll wheel going on instead of just like selecting move buttons up 1 and 2 for 3, 4. But the backup fallback if you're using mouse, and you can select move 1, 2, 3, 4 as a backup feature. And then I had some ideas to toggle attack, which I'll explain later. Which this thing will only appear for controls and stuff like that. It's just some other things too as well. But the main idea is that I did have something with the, if I put back debug or something, it has something to keep track on with the moveset. Now, currently there's nothing else programmed but other than just to release a print, just to identify when the move was hit and how much timer can just be refilled automatically. So, if I do show on play for a second, yes, and I got this in full screen and stuff like that. Basically, you can just like right click and then here's the mouse and stuff like that, and you hit cleave or something. Now these are just placeholders, name move sets. They're definitely going to change, but I needed something to test on. So you see how much this counter is going down like that. So it means that every time when you click the special moves will trigger. Now this is kind of similar to like RPGs and stuff like that, but I do plan to also have a arcade feeling to it. So if you need to do like a big move to kill many enemies in sight possibly in the future, you just tap one of these buttons and maybe it'll do something in the future just to get rid of those people. But I do plan to have a basic attack setup where you do hit like a regular button, like some kind of like square or X or left mouse button, where it still plays in real time and you can just attack from there. And as for these AIs, I developed like a prototype UI where it can change behavior. So I kind of change it now to where you can go tab to go back and hit 5 to move there. So attack just means to just go after the any AI enemies and just go after there. While you can still swap and take control of your mini people here. Which, you know what's funny? Well, this was a kind of a little accidental feature that I did. If I go switch into idle mode and you go into close play, somehow they're still kind of like locked into the slightly previous state, but they still stop, however. But they still look around you, and then they still want to jump to get your attention, which was kind of pretty nice. So I wonder how that's going to feel once I start slowly polishing the assets in the future. It's going to be a little hilarious and funny. It's like, I'm over here, or something like that. But yeah, literally. So, let me show you with the cursor thing going on with the controller. So let me just, like, turn that on for a second, which I did put in a controller on here, so let that turn on over here. Watch, Windows is probably going to bug me, said, wait, where's your, game bar? You need to install that. Well, I removed it because I have no use for it. I'm sorry. But Yeah, but still annoying, still pops up and say, hey, it's not there, you should totally install it. It's essential for Windows. No, it's not. But yeah, so this will appear with your light stick trigger, so now it'll just move around, something like that. Now, you could have it go up and down, stuff like that, but I didn't want to do that. I wanted to make it something quick and robust, because usually mouses, you can just go like boom, 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 everywhere and just quick hit. I find this like maybe a little bit faster, but we'll see once I do playtest, and if I prefer the other way, then I may change it back to that. But this is some kind of cool idea that maybe could thought about that. And I'll show you the sketches shortly to get that iteration. But you can just go here and hit confirm when ready, and then it just uses already here for aim shot, aim shot, aim shot, and yeah, pretty much, yeah, and it just records its own thing. The only issue with this is that if you go too quickly, like this, it doesn't stay over there because your dead zone of your right stick, it bounces a little bit when you get over here. So when it bounces, it's going to react to that bounce. That's the only issue. You would just probably have to quickly go scroll over here and slowly let go of the your stick trigger, then hit OK. And then usually the R3 button is like, you can open it, close it, open it, close it. Now, the other feature that I had with the toggle to attack, so instead of the thing closes, you can just go select over here, and then you would hit R3 again to trigger the attack. So in case if you want something faster, instead of hitting the A button to interact. Now, that's an idea I left it an option as a Boolean statement to maybe put it in somewhere in settings to have that feature if they want to have it like that way as a control setup, which that's something in still an early draft form for that. It will just basically just knock down one of the tallies, and that's it. So, yep. And then let me just hit escape, and then settings, and then you see how I have my custom graphics and stuff like that, which kind of got like this over here, native on and off. You can change the resolution from there. You have your minimum over here. So you go to minimum, you get now this over here. Yeah. And the reason why it's like, I'm not sure if I've probably explained, but just in case I put, instead of 720p, I put 1280 800, because that is the minimum size of a Steam Deck. So just to be safe, I just keep everything like in the UI resolution size to the default of Steam Deck size. Who knows? It may be there in the future. We'll see. But, yeah, and you just go over here, and you can also change your frame rate limits if you want to as well. Which, if you do some whatever reason want to play 30 frame rates, the funny thing about Godot, that if you try to force it to be 30 frame rates, and if I go escape and just hit my debug, it's like not a great experience with 30 frame rates, of course, because it feels something a little bit different, but it's probably because it also doesn't work with you have a blur feature on, which, speaking of which, that's what's kind of a little bit weird and fuzzy here. Which I'll explain all the. Okay, I'm going a little out of order here, but yeah, we'll just set this by default, and you can set this default, and it'll just set everything back to Wiz. But yeah, but I got technically a working feature, but I'm gonna put this on windowed mode for now. Okay, so this is just the stuff of the special move data I kind of had over here. So this is going to go to the, yeah, so this is what I had for the, when it connected it over here. So probably this will probably, yeah, this would share. And then next you could have like order class and stuff like that. But these are just placeholder names at the moment. But they'll change eventually to the proper names. I have something in mind, so. But I needed something to work anyways. And this regen interval, this would technically tell like how long until that that percentage of PP calculator will go up. So if I do tap PP calculator, oh god. No, after for a while, your thing gets a little huge, but you got like a lot. I got a lot. Because some of the debugs I have over here, you have to actually just go up around here and then, yeah, there we go, my Boolean, and I'll just set it to truth. Now, of course, I could always put it in a script to hold all the prints and stuff like that, but I kind of find that, like, that will be also kind of tedious to figure out which one is which, but I mean, you could always name them if you want to, but it either way works. Because we got, like, a true. So I'm going to need to have it true so I can show something example here. So when it does hit insert interaction area. And when you do this, see, now it just calculates, see, oh, this has been moved, there's 4 left. So it does trigger like, oh, hey, this move here has been used. Oh, my guy is just like in the way. Here, let me just hide him for now. He's just in the way. Let's see, we could just get rid of him, and then him. So you see right over there, it's been used to move, so after going out. Now, the reason why it's not generating, because you're still in the phase where, like, kind of like a battle phase, so you have to exit the UI. And then you just wait for this thing over here. Now, the reason why there's other information going on over here, because the character itself has, like, area, other interactions and going that. And then now it says PP regenerate over here, and it gives give you the number statistics of what things are generated at that time. Now, the reason why there's like, wait, why there's this extra 4 numbers over here? Because I do plan to, at least in the future, to have like a way to we can switch the movesets. So we use versus the other. So in case you have like there's 4 current movesets, you probably go to somewhere to like a learner or something like that, and then you can just like learn or forget certain moves, kind of something like that. And then it'll just use something like, yeah. So these are kind of like in place, but it's not being actively used at the moment. So yeah, some cool stuff in that. Overall, yeah, I did add some motion blur to it a little bit. I am going to have an option to have it automatically enable or disable, depending on how it goes. But so far, if you do sprint, and then you do dashing, you get this like speed acceleration blur just a little bit. And that's what the motion blur, that kind of a way I set it up for. So that's something interesting I also had in mind too as well. Something like that. Because it's also connected to the interaction area too when you do the debug and stuff like that. Okay, time to show one more pieces of my sketch before I head back to talking about maybe motion blur or something before I get involved with that. But hey, real quick. So originally, I kind of wanted the UI whip and wheel system kind of like this in the beginning, and I thought maybe that would be cool. But then I found out some issues that I kind of didn't like about it, so I ended up doing, let's see, more options to sketch that. Oh no, wait, this is just a different sketch for if I wanted like a UI to show which players that's showing the shift. But I kind of on a big if on that if I wanted to. So that's probably going to be a yes or no maybe thing that I should even have a UI to temporarily show which player is currently active, because it's going to be obvious when you press your buttons to shift to the next character once you memorize. It could be in the maybe in the inventory or party switch menu, but I don't think it needs to be played in real time. But we'll see. Okay. So this is the other sketches I did. I kind of have like, maybe if I could put like around over here to show the information, maybe it'll just populate from there. And I kind of have some like ideas. Originally kind of want to have like a simple UI tab on it that's 2D flat, kind of pop up at the left. But I was like, yeah, but that's I know that's kind of classy, generally does work, but I just feel like, is there anything else the way I could still push it, but yet still keep it simple? Because you could just do up and move down a bit and stuff like that. That's fine. And then there's also this too as well, when I thought moving this and moving that. So there's just a lot going on here. I think I was still trying to settle to figure out a way to keep it all like flat based, because originally I kind of maybe thought about wanting to do like some kind of like 3D UI stuff, but then it didn't really work out as I thought when the imagination of it, because even if it just like rotate to follow the camera around and it's still flat on the panel, it wouldn't really inherently change that much of the experience, and more than it's just supposed to be a pointless feature that I was thinking about. So I did kind of scrap the 3D UI as an idea. So in order to make it better, I kind of like broke it down something like this. Okay, so originally like there. So in the other idea, I was kind of stuck with a menu kind of thing idea. And then here's me thinking about the 3D stuff again. But I was like, And then what if it was this way? What if it was the kind of like the information that shows the information is like kind of like maybe floating around and stuff like that, and just use the straight up the 2D method for the UI. Now keep in mind this is a little bit over here. It's just basically an idea of how the health bar could possibly be in the future since you're managing characters. So eventually I'll implement that in the future. But I was thinking, okay, this is a good start. All right, but what if how I want to lay this out? And then what led to over here is the idea for putting this all like the four squares together over here. So if you longest there, it's in the center. It doesn't invade the screen too much, where you see where the other enemies are going during mid pause session to select your moveset to trigger. So it does complement the space of the negative space of what you see. So the UI is not blasting in the face of only one spam section in the corner, which I didn't like that. So I kind of want to like keep it balanced, but make sure everyone can still see. So the corners is still fine. You can still see the whole view and anything in the way of the camera and appropriate stuff like that, which is still great and dandy. So that's good. So that's why I kind of ended up going for this route instead. Alrighty, so back to this. So this is like a little test chamber that I had with the motion blur I was testing over here. Now I did create a compositor and a resource, which is basically a little slightly custom plugin that I had to figure out how to get this to work. Now the motion blur is just like over here and stuff like that, but I did put in like certain settings over here that you can change and stuff like that. So you can tween and change the density or customize it however you like. So I would say not every motion blur is going to work the same for each project. So just to be safe, I can just easily just put certain sliders and stuff like that until I just hit the right motion blur. Because I was trying to figure out, yeah, I haven't tested any Krampus, but the problem is that if you keep it static, that it'll remain the blurriness kind of there a little bit, but it still has the echoes of a motion. But in order to create that feeling, you need to have some blur to create the motion blur. I got the motion screen offset to work, but the blur to make it less obvious it's ghosting, that had to be done. So I would either just turn on the dynamic intensity on and dynamic softness, just so when it does come in sync and then when it stops going full speed, then it will just look clean before no motion blur. So if I play my little dummy preview here, see how it goes, like goes wee spinning over here, and then it goes back to normal a little bit. So it depends on what you do with that amount of motion blur in your game. If it's needed, you don't want to go overdose, of course, because there's no need. And then yeah, that's my like little counter here for that. But yeah, that was something cool that I made for that. I was pretty awesome in that. That was because it didn't have like a motion blur as a native support, so that's cool. But that was the only one that I made for so far that I needed for my game. Oh, also, one more thing, Nathan. Got to talk about that you also, for the new people, if you ever stopped at this video to watch me or something, you're like, oh, wait, I don't know this person. Who is this person? Well, I do try my best to do my streams weekly, so check me out around between 8 a.m. to 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Zone time zone. And then you can probably see me doing some like concept art stuff like that. So I am a solo developing, so yeah, I think it's gonna take time and stuff like that. But at this point, you might as well do what you love. There's pretty much not really real good opportunities out these days. And then I think that will be it for now. So I think did I get everything? Yeah, I think I got everything so far. I was just more focused on developing UI at the moment, and then after that I'll work on like the bare bones mechanics later. It's just so that I have something like an early prototype in advance of that. I can make some adjustment and fine tuning from there. But yeah, that's it for the progress for now. But hey, thanks for tuning in. Hopefully I keep this video as short as possible so you can go back on and maybe play some games or do whatever you do in life or whatever is left in this world, man. Because out there is a crazy Mad Max. Alright, see ya.